Hey everyone, and welcome to Mind Your Business with SML. Today we have Rick Leimbach. He is not just a finance professional, but a passionate champion for startups, a go-to CFO advisor, and the visionary behind Startup Portal. As someone who steered public companies through boardrooms, audits, reporting deadlines, and growth phases, Rick knows firsthand what it takes to build financial stability and how often startups don't get that same head start. Rick didn't find Startup Portal to ride the finance services wave. He built it because he's seen too many promising founders stall, not for lack of vision or ambition, but for lack of structure, financial clarity, or a roadmap for sustainable growth. Through Startup Portal, he bridges that gap by leveraging cloud based tools. His team delivers enterprise caliber financial insights, projections, corporate governance, best practices, and bookkeeping at a fraction of the typical cost. But beyond members and spreadsheets, Rick brings empathy and commitment. He's often the trusted advisor who takes the time to explain complex accounting or SEC reporting requirements in plain English to demystify the financial world for entrepreneurs so they can focus on creativity, product, and growth. Testimonials on Startup Portal's site speaks volumes. Many founders describe him as reliable, accessible, supportive, and most importantly, someone who genuinely cares about their success. What makes Rick unique isn't just his pedigree, it's that he's translating hard earned corporate finance expertise into a superpower for small ventures. Whether you're building your first business model, prepping for a second round, or navigating the turbulence of growth, Rick offers far more than back office help. He offers confidence, clarity, and a foundation on which to scale. Through Startup Portal, he's not only helping startups thrive, he's also helping them survive. On to you, Rick.
Oh, Marnie, thank you. And can we stop there? Because that introduction was
That's
fantastic.
it. We did it.
Yeah, cut. We're good. We're good. No, so I appreciate it. And you covered a lot of my background of helping, honestly, and today I help startups, people looking for capital, to I have some publicly traded companies that I support. So all in all, I'm a jack of all trades, but I think you covered it in the introduction. So thank you very much. So with this time, I thought I'd just talk about a couple things that really are passionate to me from experience. Really the cash flow element of companies, as well as you mentioned it, some of the things that people are missing or lacking really is that funding side. And really we'll talk about where do you fit as a business in funding. Just because you can doesn't mean you should on certain aspects to it. But let's start with the cash flow piece of it. And I guess one question for you would be, do you at your clients that you have, how do they feel when they talk about cash flow and sometimes lack thereof, but really comes down to planning.
Yes, there's definitely challenges. I mean, especially when you're a small business, somehow, it's kind of a case of, well, one, do you want to take the risk to take on, additional funding options? And the other thing is you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
Unless you have a trusted individual to really know
Yeah.
that person's in your corner, sometimes it's scary. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the
Absolutely.
reality,
Yeah.
And so for me, like a person like you is key because I don't want just someone who is in it for the numbers, but it
Right.
it feels like a real partner.
Well, I appreciate that. And look, I mean, some of the research I did with our friend AI in today's world, just say, hey, give me the sentiment of the mid-Atlantic, as far as the economy goes, and really that's like real growth GDP of 1.5 to 1.6%. And then the job market with white collar sector, basically maybe seeing, basically doing okay in the mid-Atlantic, but the pressure on layoffs from manufacturing and retail. And it goes to what you said about you don't know what you don't know. And for small businesses, that information doesn't resonate to the day to day. It just doesn't fit. Like, hey, how's that impact me? You really don't feel it. And a lot of us who experienced it in positions back in 2008 with the financial crisis, if you were in a position of leading a company or managing the finances like I was, it resonated then. Today, I don't see it as much. But it really comes back to the cash flow planning. Whether and I always start with a 13-week cash plan, trying to lay out the next 3 months. But in reality, it's really the next 4 weeks that I like to focus on if you're feeling a cash flow pinch, right? Because your cash balance is X. You have obligations, you have employees, you have hiring. They're the no miss. The mortgage, the rent, there's certain things you can't miss. It's that where can I squeeze additional spend? And if you want to grow, you have to spend and plan for marketing, right? Reality is you have to plan. So I try to do a 13-week cash flow plan, and if someone wants to reach out, I'm glad to provide them a simple template in Google Sheets or Excel. But really getting that foundation set is first and foremost to say, okay, let me breathe. Last thing you want to do is look for financing when you can't breathe, because at the end of the day, people see fear, they feel fear, right? And they don't want your problem to be their problem.
Mhm.
So if you have a foundation of your cash flow, you can make it through, a month, 3 months. It's much better to sit down with someone to say, okay, does your financing fit me? So that's where, I really try to focus on that. And then when cash eases up, then I don't worry, you'll worry less about the 13-week cash plan. It goes to the side, sits around. Then you start looking at monthly reporting, closing the books, getting the monthly report. One of my big fans is looking at trended projections. Not just this month, but what's our last 6 months look like? Which really can tell you what the next 6 months looks like, all in all. So with that, I guess, obviously you have bookkeeping clients. Do you have a process where you look at, their financials and try to help them on a regular basis?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Look, as you know, Rick, you know Pam. Pam Hodge, she's my operations director and bookkeeping expert.
Love
And
Pam.
yeah, absolutely. What I love about her is, yes, she's a numbers woman. She is. But she also really cares. So if there's something where she can see like, oh, if we, categorize this differently, if we move this around, maybe you should have this many accounts open. Maybe we need to
Yeah,
streamline. Just there's always little, things you can tweak to make it that much easier.
sure.
And I'll say this, even for me, Rick, and I don't know if this is a thing for everyone, but for me, I see something shiny and new, and I'm like, hey, Pam, we should do this. We should make this happen. And she's like, great, let's look at the budget. And sometimes it's sobering, but you need that person on board because that's who is going to help you stay focused
Sure.
on your small plan and your long-term plan and
Yeah,
keep things running because like for me, I want to bring on even more people, but do I have the cash flow to do it? I want to make sure, right? That's my biggest
absolutely.
thing. Make sure my
Yeah,
people are paid,
yeah,
and all the other overhead that I need to cover. So
yeah,
I get it. I mean, you have to be aware as a small business owner. I mean, sometimes it's not the best conversation, Rick, but you have to
no.
have it.
Absolutely. And one of the things that, obviously on the flip side of having employees is the cash management on the other side, the collection side, and making sure that clients basically come to the table and pay in a timely manner, as agreed upon. And then sometimes it's not easy. And that's where you have to, part of that 13-week cash plan is say, okay, look, make a plan with someone. I need X per week. At least you can plan with their payments and those type of things. So that's where you work through, and you can leverage folks like myself to say, okay, what do I do in that regard? Now, I will take one little asterisk. I'm not a tax guy. We're here in December. You do need to take and say, what's 25 look like? So you can get your tax person to say, hey, we have X 20 days left, whatever it is in the month. Are there tax strategies you can do? And also, and I'm no expert, and I haven't really seen the big, beautiful bills, they call it. But what's that impact this year? Is there any impact that you can do? For myself, I have a software platform I've been building, and the tax benefits of that are great, for me, versus, for this year. So that's something I'm looking at, where, the 2017 tax law kind of mitigated what you can deduct. Now it reversed it. So it's just those things. Get your tax guy and talk to them about this year. With that said, I'm going to move on as people, especially with the looking for funding and to make sure I'm good with time. But from the standpoint of people looking for funding, telling your story financially is very, very important. That's where you're going to lay out sort of your 3 to 5 year plan, how you're going to make money, what your margins look like, what your staffing looks like. And really, it gets down to how much funding do I need? Right? And the key there is identifying that need, but then finding and reaching out to the funder that fits your business model and you fit their business model, right? That's the key. If you have a brand new startup and you need funding, going to your local bank is not feasible. Not that they don't like you, they'll take your deposits, but it's a risk reward for them. It just doesn't fit. In my world, brand new startups, I can guide you to the world of equity crowdfunding potentially. If you have a product, you could raise X dollars, and it could be anywhere from the lower levels, 50,000 to 5 million. With that said, just because you can does not mean you should, right? Because if you're looking for, to grow a startup that needs 10 million and you start with equity crowdfunding, it may hurt you because private equity firms don't play in the same sandbox. So you want to put yourself in a position that and I always say, basically, as I'm doing my first financing, think about the second, right? Where does it roll up to? Where does it lead me? So in that regard, I want to make sure that I find the right funding. Now, the flip side, if you have a business and you have strong inventory or strong receivables, but your cash flow is tight, there are band-aids to get you through. Back in 2007, 2008, we were using a factoring company for a company I was with. Literally, the CEO and COO would run out every week, install the systems at different hotels around the country, send me the paperwork back on Friday. I would put it together, get it to the factoring company, we'd be paid next week. And we managed that as a band-aid to
Hmm.
get through a pretty tough time.
Hmm.
Ironically, that factoring company called up in 08 and said, "Hey, the money you're paying us, we're going to double the take this week, and you have no control." But so there's risk reward in all of that. So that's where you just need to make sure if you're going down that alternative path, it fits for you and you have a risk tolerance, and you can get out of it. So there's just lots of elements to that.
Yeah, I
So
was gonna actually make a comment about that too. Because me personally, Rick, I am, I like to take risks in other areas, but not with the money and the business. So I am very risk adverse.
yeah,
But sometimes you need it, and you're right, finding that right partner. Like I'm speaking to a few people in organizations where I'm just like, hey guys, if you just I just want this amount, right? I just need this amount to get me through. I don't need some overblown, like, well, we can give you
yeah,
$50,000. And you're like, I just need the 10, guys. That's,
yeah, yeah,
you want that. Hey, I
absolutely.
would love to be in a position where, hey, I can borrow
Yeah,
that no problem and, manage it. But for me, you got
yeah.
to start somewhere.
Interesting enough, in that point, I'll say, even if you need that little bit, I go back to where we start with 13-week cash plan. Because usually it's going to be a short-term financing that's based on cash flow. They're going to take it out every week, like a fintech financing type thing. And you just want to make sure you can handle it, that in that regard. And just so there's many options. If you need inventory, if you need to be build product, if you're shipping things overseas, there's a world of purchase order financing that can help you. So it's just some of it gets complicated, none of it's cheap, right? In that regard, outside your local bank, which is risk adverse, they're very affordable. That's for sure. So there's just different elements where you are in your business cycle. If you're starting out, I focus on the plan, the model, doing your research, finding the funding sources that fit, and simply looking at private equity, let's say, and I'll use that as an example. They all have their business models on their website. We're looking for 1.5 million in EBITDA with earnings, and we're looking for companies that have 10 million in revenue, right? If you don't have 10 million in revenue, don't waste your time. But put yourself in that position to really know your story and help basically get the right financing that you're comfortable with. So
Rick, is there any like I don't know, platforms or tools that like you would recommend maybe that small businesses would go to first kind of to do that research, like specific sites or anything?
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, in today's world of AI, I would start there, and they'll give you some good research of companies that fit fit the bill. There's some platforms out there that basically are costly, used by Wall Street, et cetera, tough to get to
Hmm.
in that regard. But certainly, if someone sends me an email and says, "Hey, I'm looking for this," glad to provide the advice. And especially if anybody says anything about equity crowdfunding, really that's where. And I don't do this. I do this to help guide more than anything. But
Hmm.
I am aggregating all the deals that are going through, and I can provide you details of what equity crowdfunding portal to look at, what fits for you. For example, I had a gentleman who needed financing for his beef jerky company in Western Maryland. Yeah, and he was successful at going to a group out of Pittsburgh called Honeycomb. So he raised about $35,000. Myself and someone in my office, we invested in it. And basically, it's revenue share. I love revenue share. So he's paying back as he's generating revenue. And I just checked the other day, and basically he's at almost 50% paid back of my revenue plus profit. So
Nice.
and it's a 13% return. So it's good stuff, but that's the small little nugget that people could achieve with alternative financing. Again, 13% for him, it's probably 15 with fees, but it was a solution to a problem. And the beauty is if he can generate enough revenue, he's bankable. Right now, he can
Yes.
go to the local bank and say, "Hey, I really need a more traditional line of credit because I buy my product and then I sell it." And the lines of credits are great. It just takes my history of lines of credits. There are two types: people that never use it but have it, which is a
Hmm.
good band-aid. The other aspect are people that get it and they use it fully, and it's just like a term loan. So it's not providing you that leverage you need to basically bill customers, use the cash to pay payroll or expenses, and pay
Hmm.
it down as customers pay back. You have to have that discipline. So
Yes.
yeah, so all kinds of facets in the world of, you know, helping people, get to um, I guess to the finish line per se, the comfortable line, not even a finish.
Yes.
It's a comfortable.
Yes.
So yeah,
Ooh,
so
that was
yeah,
really informative. Thank you, Rick.
yeah, no worries, no
I
worries.
learned
So
some things myself.
yeah, so whether you're a startup or an operating company, I mean, it's just the disciplines of the finance aspect to it. So when you can sit back and go back to the GDP and the mid-Atlantic that we talked about, how the economy's doing, it can resonate, right? When you're comfortable, it can resonate to say, okay, how do I plan for next year?
Hmm.
Right? You drill down and use your AI to say, okay, give me a focus on the, basic staffing industry, right?
Hmm.
Say, what's it look like next year? Are people spending money? Are they pulling back? Those type of things, which allows you to plan. And then when you go to the bank with your plan and says, hey, the industry is going to grow 5%, I'm going to be in position, and here's my story, here's my need, and whether it's a line of credit or a term loan, it's affordable, and you can sleep at night.
I
So,
like the story aspect and like the forecasting because in my head, Rick, obviously, until I spoke
yeah.
to you now,
Yeah.
I really thought, a lot of times when you're applying for something, it's just like, just give me this paperwork, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
your profit and loss and,
yeah,
okay. But telling your story
yeah,
and the research to back it up of what it's going to look like in the future,
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
difference maker.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And to me, even when you're doing the numbers themselves, and startup where it really started, I'll give you a real quick history. I was at Towson University judging business plans, and many moons ago, and I'm there judging. I get 10 business plans, and I look at the financials for all of them. I'm like, one guy wants to make $1 million this year with basically 1,100,000 in revenue. And another guy has, basically making $200 billion down the road. I'm like, nobody has the, kind of the financial story there. So that's
Mhm.
how it originated to really that's my goal is to help people tell that financial story. I always say if you can put it to paper, we can put it to numbers. And we're trying to build the benchmarking around it so you can say, hey, and we cover anything from AI to breweries to say, hey, if I have a brewery that's doing 1 million a year in revenue, I can give you data to say, here's what other breweries around the countries are doing, and here's their gross margin, here's what they're spending on. So when you're building your plan, it's a true plan that you can, quote, take to the bank. Um,
I like it, Rick.
so I threw a lot in there in a short period of time, and hopefully people understand that it's a matter of having that plan together, and knowing your numbers.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this was great, Rick. Thank you so much for being a part of a Mind Your Business with SML. I think this is really going to resonate with a lot of people in our community, and in our network.
Oh,
And
great.
I do want to give a shout out, guys. Seriously, if you need anything at all in this area, please, please, please contact Rick. He's your guy. I don't know what else to say, guys. I know a guy, and it's Rick. You got to do it. So
Well,
that's my
I appreciate
recommendation.
that. So yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, obviously. And then Startup Portal, we have all the social medias that really is lacking. So I need to talk to Krista about that.
Krista will be
Uh,
on it. I'm telling you, Rick.
yeah, got it. So
That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much again for being part of this,
of
Rick. And
course.
and I also want to thank you for being a customer of SML. I mean, we love working with you, and we are honored and grateful, and we appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And the beauty of you guys is I can have 5 different items that I need to address, and I don't have to find 5 different services.
That's
So I
right.
love it. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you so much. And everyone, make sure to tune in and contact Rick if you need us. All right. Bye, guys.
See ya.